This is the most affordable BYD Seal in COE Cat A, and it starts from $187,000, $888. Is this one of the best Cat A sedans you can get as an EV? In this video, I'll give you an exterior and interior tour of the car. We'll go through the driving experience, charge the car, and I'll share a final verdict on who I think this car is for. Click subscribe to stay updated to more videos on EVs. Let's start with the exterior. Down here in the front, you can see very nice sharp designs. This car here is in polar white, one of the 4 exterior colors available. The most common color we see is the Arctic blue. And with the available car key and BYD app access, you can control this car. When we unlock the car, you can see the iconic lights come out. From a distance, you can see these nice sharp edges, these angles, BYD logo in front. Thank you so much for the BYD Singapore team for allowing me to test drive this car over the past 3 days. As we come over to the side, you can see nice wheel caps, cameras by the side. Modern EVs all have multiple cameras to help with the 360-degree cam. And you can see over here, there is a full glass roof on top of the car. As we move away to the side, we see the charge port on the rear right. So by unlocking the car, the flush door handles come up. When I lock them, they go back in, and I can then open the charge port. It's got AC charging up to 11 kilowatts and DC fast charging up to 150 kilowatts. Good enough for road trips to Malaysia. These cabs, many EVs are now removing the cabs for the AC charger so that it's easier, and hopefully BYD can do the same for future versions just to make it more seamless to get in and out of charging. As we make our way to the back, you can see the iconic tail lights is like one long uninterrupted strip. You can see the lights coming together. By pressing this button, it reveals a trunk with 400 liters of trunk space. There's a little bit of hidden storage below to store EV charging supplies, tire repair kits, and you get the showroom plates. This truly is the BYD Seal. Good enough for small families, and when you're ready to close, you press this button. Now that we've seen the exterior of the car, which looks great, and many people say this is the best looking BYD they've seen, especially when you think about BYD coming from many years ago, the E6 version for taxis. This looks sharp. Another iconic part of the front is the frunk. So we open the frunk using this handle down here, 2 presses for safety, and you lift it. It is a bit heavier, so you want to use 2 hands to lift this. And in here, there is a 53-liter frunk space, enough for my backpack. Now you may be wondering why we have an orange carrot. Because we're going to do a carrot test on the door handles. So to close this, again, you recommend using 2 hands. And come over here to the driver's door. So because the door handles come out, we want to see how safe it is. So I'm going to put a carrot in here through the handle hole, and I'm going to try to lock the door right now. And you can see that the carrot is fine, which means if, let's say, your fingers or children's fingers are accidentally there when you lock the car, it will still be okay. No harm done to the carrot. I unlock, and there you go. You can still eat this carrot, no injury. So come join me now for an interior look of the car. As we come in, many of my friends who rode this car with me the past 3 days remarked they love the premium kind of design, the interiors, the shape here of the audio system, the speakers. They are all the right controls for window controls, locking the car, adjusting the mirror, side pockets for water bottle. Over here, this controls the trunk to open the trunk. And in here, we've got 2 wireless chargers. And the interior is luxurious. It's dark. Right now, interior only comes in black. I hope for future versions, BYD allows options for white or maybe even a beige interior. The steering wheel has a fair bit of buttons in there. So some friends who come from ICE cars say it's actually a good mix in between a Tesla where it's totally no buttons, very minimalist, to an all ICE car with buttons everywhere in the console. So the BYD Seal uses the touchscreen, and it's got a good mix of some additional buttons here. The gear shift is here in the middle. There is still a start-stop button. We will come back to turning on this car later when we are driving the car. There are 2 cup holders, and below my legs here is one USB-A and USB-C charging port. Okay, now that we've seen the front, let me give you a short tour at the back. At the back of the Cat A BYD Seal, it's exactly similar with the Cat B version. Down here, there are 2 USB ports, one C, one A for charging. There's a nice pocket here where we can put phones, aircon vents, cup holders, and the seats fold down in a 60-40 configuration. So this seat here, when I press this button, it folds down. Now one interesting thing is that they've got a hook for this seat belt so that when you push it back up, it's easier to also just lock back in. So the rear is decent, it is comfortable, and there's a flat floor, so it's still comfortable for long road trips, even when there are 3 passengers behind. Now that you've seen a tour of the car, both the exterior and the interior, join me in the front seat. I'll walk you through the navigation systems, and we'll go on a nearby drive to one of the SP chargers to charge the car. And so before we kick off our drive, the very first experience we have with every EV is the app. So you see me use the car keys, but you don't have to use them. You can also use the BYD app. With the BYD app, you can control your car. You can see our BYD Seal here with 380 kilometers with 82% state of charge. So in my experience driving this car, the WLTP range of 460 kilometers seems to be pretty accurate. I'm actually getting almost close to that in real world driving. Now over here, for EV drivers, especially in hot weather, you can turn on the aircon first. So by doing this, when we get into the car, we will not be going to the oven, we'll be going into a more cooling and comfortable car. And if you cannot find your car in the car park, you can always use the horn button or the lights button to locate your car. This is something that ICE cars can't do, which is of important and practical benefit for EV owners here in Singapore. Further down, there are additional options for your phone to be the key to control the doors and windows. And another big benefit is the ventilated front seats. So I can turn on the ventilated seats for myself and for my videographer so that when we go in later, it is comfortable for us. You can also use heating in cold climate, which we rarely need to use in Singapore. So let me see you in the front seat right now as we drive towards our charging stop. So you can see I'm unlocking through the app. Welcome back to the interior of the BYD Seal. Now that everything is turned on, we've got the 2 wireless chargers where I'll put my phone. You can see wireless charging in progress. Again, you've heard me say this in previous review videos. I think that indicator or the message could be in the side so that it doesn't disrupt the view of the touchscreen. This is a large touchscreen, 15.6 inch, and like many BYDs, this touchscreen can rotate. What's the practical benefit? Good question. Let me know down in the comments if you use it. But otherwise, most owners will typically keep it in horizontal format to not obstruct the view. I wish that the front was a little bit lower so that there's a little bit more visibility. That's not a major issue. Both front seats are electronically adjusted. So you just put your hand down in the handles and adjust front and back, up and down. And over here in the user interface, when you scroll to the right, you have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. BYD has done a good job in gradually improving its base user interface. So for today's video, we will use their built-in navigation and their built-in interface. Throughout the rest of the front, you can see that we've got the new IU unit, the ERP 2.0. So the cash card is now here at the bottom. You can see we've got a BYD cash card. And you can put it in any order and it will just show you your credits available in the cash card. Here in the front, you've got lights. in this vanity mirror and the additional lights here. Now, this Cat A version of the car has decent acceleration. It goes from 0 to 100 in 10 seconds. Of course, if you want a really fast car, you get the Cat B versions. The performance version has acceleration of 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.8 seconds. So I'm going to put on my seat belt. We are going to navigate to Dual Tower because there is an SP charging station over here. So I go to navigation. And as that loads, it does take a bit of time to load. I'm also going to open the SP app on my phone. And you can see here, Dual Tower. B1 car park, lots C77 to 81, have AC and DC chargers. That's where we're going to. So here, again, it does interrupt it a little bit for a short while. Then let's key in Dual Tower. And there we go. Simple and easy. When we're ready, we click go. What you're seeing here is BYD's built-in navigation. No Android Auto or Apple CarPlay this time. So we're ready. Shift down for D to drive. And let's make a move. So in this short drive, you will experience a good mix of city, streets, and highway driving. And I would like to showcase to you their intelligent cruise control. Many of my friends who ride in this car, if they're coming from an ICE car, would immediately notice how quiet this EV is. The seats are wide and comfortable. They're wider than the seats in the BYD Atto 3. And there, on our right, is the Arctic Blue BYD Seal, which is a very popular color. Now, because it's a Chinese car, so the wipers are on the left stalk and the turn signal are on the right stalk. And you can see that the cameras come up when you're making a turn at low speeds. The navigation is smooth, it works. We're actually quite impressed with it, testing it over the past 3 days. I'll say it's above average and better than most brands' built-in navigation system. With this acceleration in the Cat A version, it's more than enough for city driving in Singapore. When you do road trip to Malaysia, then you will miss a little bit more of the acceleration, especially for overtaking. So as I make a turn, the signal indicators are also in the side mirrors, allowing yourself and other cars to see your intention. The rear view visibility from the driver's side is good as well. So it's very easy to drive and navigate with this car. Comfortable driving experience. And when I want to come to a stop, I will use the brake because by default, the car will still continue to creep. So there's an option in the menu to turn regenerative braking to high, but it's not fully single pedal driving like a Polestar or a Tesla. When I stop the car, you see this A, that means auto holds in place. So if I let my foot off the accelerator, the car won't go forward. So as a driver, when you just press, you see the auto hold, you can let your foot off and you're fine, and the car will be okay. So we're going to make a turn into the ECP highway, which, fun fact, is the only highway in Singapore. So when you think of like CTE, it's the only one without an expressway at the back. This is just East Coast Parkway. All the other highways end with an E, like BKE, TPE. I see the triangle, it means there's a vehicle in my blind spot, which is the bike. So it's a good blind spot indicator to help us take a look. This car is comfortable, there's good suspension. The steering is light, so it's easy for most people to steer. The user interface is very clear and helpful. It also has a driver's instrument panel, which shows you your state of charge, 82%, your different driving mode. Now talking about the driving mode, so over here, this changes the car driving mode. I can shift it from normal, sport, or eco in the driver's instrument panel. And there's also another mode button in the steering wheel which does not do the same thing. This mode in the steering wheel, if I click on it, it will show the different audio settings in the touchscreen. So my feedback to BYD is to consider having a different name so that they're not using the same name for two separate functions. So you can see right now, I got to go back to home page, go back to navigation, and we're now turning into the highway. The car handles really well in corners, easy to control. Even though it's a wet day, it was raining quite a lot earlier today. As we get to the highway, it's a good test for the road noise. So we've got 3.5 kilometers before we exit the ECP. So as we get into the ECP, and I'm in a good center lane, I'm going to click on this button here on the left of the steering wheel to turn on the intelligent cruise control. And I can pull this up. Every time I press up, it increments by 5 kilometers per hour. So right now the car is navigating by itself. My foot is not on the accelerator, and if you briefly let go of the hands, it will still be okay, but it will prompt you, please keep your hands and apply some pressure. Otherwise, you can see the BYD is doing a pretty decent job on highways, keeping a good safe fall distance, not unlike Tesla Autopilot. As the BYD continues to improve the software here, they'll make the road towards autonomous driving one step at a time. So we're going to exit 15. Of course, it doesn't lane change for you, so to lane change, I would have to disengage by pressing the same button, signal to change the lane, and again notice my blind spot indicator when the orange triangle comes up. When it is clear, it's safe to turn, and I make the turn. And when I'm done with the turn, I click on this button again, and the cruise control continues again. So again, pretty clear, pretty smooth. This intelligent cruise control works really well in highways, especially in the center of the lane with clearly marked lines on both sides, and the turns aren't too sharp. So you can see that we're coming towards a gradual turn later. The BYD will do a decent job. Now I'm at 80, and so again, as other cars go past us, let's try to follow the prevailing road speed. So you can see it's doing a good job. This is my first time reviewing and showcasing BYD's intelligent cruise control. For those of you who've used it before, let me know what you think down in the video comments. So you can see a little bit of curves and turns. You see the steering wheel making its own adjustments by itself. It's adjusting the acceleration. So here's a good test. We're going to make a turn to the left. And again, the steering wheel is able to do that digitally. That prompt means please apply pressure in the steering wheel so that the driver is always paying attention. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with BYD's intelligent cruise control for highway driving. Very smooth driving experience, not that much road noise, and braking, smooth. There you go, very smooth. And once the A lights up in green, auto holds in place, I get my foot off the accelerator, car stays. When the pedestrians are crossing the road, we're here in the Bugis area. You can see Bugis Junction by our side, and LTA recently released that showing that 1 in 3 cars sold in Singapore this year are now EVs. 3% of all cars on the roads are now EVs as well. So Norway just recently crossed the threshold where half the cars are EVs in the country. In Singapore, maybe it'll take us another 10 years to get there, but we're moving in the right direction. On our left, you can see the BYD E6. That was one of the original BYDs in Singapore. Today, with the new versions, there are now more than 4,000 BYD Atto 3s on Singapore's roads. There are more than 1,000 BYD Seals on our roads. And you'll see more and more EVs everywhere. And here we are. Parking is further down in level 1. There you go, that's another BYD T3. The BYD T3 is their commercial van. BYD has both consumer vehicles like this BYD Seal, and it's also got a T3. They even have buses as well for commercial use. In Singapore, we now have more than 7,000 EV chargers that are publicly accessible. And private homes have another 7,000 that are used for private use. So there are more and more EV chargers. More than half of our HDB blocks, car parks have EV chargers. And by the end of 2025, every HDB car park will have EV chargers. This means that it's really easy to own and charge an EV in Singapore. So we come in the car park. We know that the EV chargers we saw in the SP app earlier is in basement 1. So the EV chargers are actually all on our right side. Very convenient. Some of you who watched this channel before may recall that we actually came here in one of our earlier review videos. So I'm going to use the DC fast charger. Just reverse. So you can see the reverse cam come up and make our way down. So because it's raining, you can see that the dots are in the reverse cam, so that's just one thing to watch out during rainier days. There are also a lot of lines. I wish that there was only just one line. I understand why they have these additional lines. So these inner 2 lines are the wheels. This outer line is the chassis of the car. So I'm just going to straighten the car a little bit going forward. Now the first time you turn on the reverse cam, there's just a very slight delay before it activates, but otherwise this is so helpful in getting us to our spot. As we get in, perfect. So you can press P, or a shortcut I found is I just press stop and it just turns off everything in the car. Let's go outside and charge this car. And we'll talk about our final verdict for who this car is for. Welcome to the SP chargers. There are 3 AC stalls and 2 DC fast chargers. One of the unique advantages for BYDs is that BYD has secured up to 20% charging discounts for 5 major charge operators like SP Mobility, Shell Recharge, Charge Plus, Volt. And with this charger here, I'm just going to pull this out. These are the CCS2 DC fast chargers, and pull these 2 plugs out, plug the cable in, and then all I need to do is open the SP app, scan QR, and scan the QR code that's by the charging slot over here, and it shows the rate is 64 cents per kilowatt hours. But then once you register as a BYD owner, you do get up to 20% discount with SP Group. When you're ready, click Start Charging. And now you can see that the car has begun charging. It took us about slightly more than 30 seconds. And here in the app, you can see it's charging. It's showing the state of charge and showing you the time remaining, 30 minutes, because this is a DC fast charger. So let's head back to the front and let me share my final verdict for who I think this car is for. BYD has done a great job getting people to consider EVs. This car looks amazing, especially in polar white. It's got good range, 460 kilometers of real-world range. Many people would compare this car with the Tesla Model 3 Cat A version, which is selling for $193,000 inclusive of Cat A COE. I recommend owners to test drive both cars. There are lots alike for both cars and you can't go wrong with them. The reason why someone will pick a BYD Seal is because they love the exterior design. They love that there are still buttons inside, because some people may find a Tesla too minimalist. Then there's also some people who have a brand preference. They prefer BYD over Tesla. The advantage that a Tesla would have is access to the charger network, like the supercharger network. In Singapore, there are 11 supercharger locations and 10 destination charger locations. Superchargers are the DC fast chargers, destination chargers are the AC chargers. However, BYD as the nation's top EV brand they are partnering very closely with public charge point operators, and eventually all of these Tesla charging locations would also open up to non-Tesla EVs like this BYD Seal. What I love about the car, apart from the design, is that it handles well, it's got a good range. We could drive to KL without charging if we needed to. The only thing you sacrifice in the Cat A version is the acceleration speed, but otherwise, this is solid. If you need a car that's a lot more range, so the Cat B version of the BYD Seal has up to 570 kilometers of WLTP range. But otherwise, if you're looking for a more budget-friendly option, I would highly recommend this BYD Seal. My wish list is more interior color options, and if they could have a future redesign of the front where the owners could open the front from outside from the app. Because today, I can't open the front with the BYD app. To do so, I've got to go back all the way into the car. I've got to unlock the car and then pull the handle twice. Remove the lid, and then remove a second lid. I've got something in here as we wrap it up. And all I want to say is that despite that small thing, overall, this car is a yay for me. I think it's a great car, and it's really accelerating Singapore's transition to sustainable energy. Thank you again to the BYD team for this experience to test drive the BYD Seal. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and hit subscribe to stay updated to more videos on EVs.